There you go.
Okay, great. I'm bringing up my copy of the agenda here because it's so big, I wouldn't want to lose it. So I'd like to call to order the Willington Inland Wetlands and Watercourses regular meeting on Monday, July 26, 2021. It is 7:37 and our three regular members are here. In body, if not in mind. No, I shouldn't have said that, right? We call this meeting because we wanted to determine what kind of meetings we will have henceforth, or at least for the next little while. And we will start with that handout sheet that Mike sent around to us. Did everybody read that?
I didn't see it. I've only seen Peggy's.
I can do a quick overview,
Could you
but beforehand, I'm sure you all, well, maybe you just assume that Kathy is here because we have such interesting meetings, but she's here to talk to you about the Talmadge property. So my hope is that you guys can make a motion to add her as item 3 under discussion to the agenda.
Make a motion to add the Wellington Conservation Commission's information to the agenda.
I'll second that.
And Kathy, the spokesperson.
All right.
I'll second that. Anybody want to discuss it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Kathy, you've been added.
So where we are, I know it's been a bit since we've met, but as of July 1, in-person meetings are okay. Virtual meetings like this are okay, and hybrid meetings are okay. The budget implementer bill included these provisions which make them all possible. Each board has the opportunity to decide how it wants to conduct its meetings, and there is no obligation on behalf of the board to stick to one approach. So you can decide today that you want to do X, but that doesn't mean that that's how they are going to have to be moving forward. A couple of the key points: if we decide to have a virtual meeting only and a member of the public requests more than 24 hours prior to the meeting, an in-person accommodation, we are obligated to make that accommodation. If it's less than 24 hours, we are not. If we are having an in-person meeting only and a member of the public says, but I want it to be virtual, we are not obligated to make that accommodation. If we're having an in-person meeting, but a commissioner makes that request, we are obligated to make that accommodation. If we do hybrids, the folks attending virtually have to have the ability to see, speak, and listen, just like they're attending live. So we can't just say, yeah, just call in. They have to be able to interact with the board in the same methods and manners that we're dealing with now. So the only other thing that I will leave you with is, particularly for planning and zoning, less for this commission because it doesn't happen all the time. If we're dealing with an application that may likely have a public hearing component, we're more than likely going to have to do a hybrid, because there are a number of people that are not yet comfortable with meeting in person. And if I have a meeting that's advertised as virtual or in person only, and we have to make an accommodation for a member of the public or for a member of the commission, kind of screws up my publishing of the legal notice. So those meetings, if we have a public hearing, we will likely strongly urge the commission to do in hybrid format. But other than that, you know, we can, you guys can have a bit of a discussion for what you want to do.
So let me ask this point. For practical purposes, if no one requests a face-to-face, a hybrid meeting and a virtual meeting will be indistinguishable if
Well,
everybody wants to be virtual.
Was that a thunderstorm, Nana?
Yeah, I mean, so the only real difference is that so the process is no different. You know, we would still make the materials available ahead of time. There would still be a link to call in, but obviously the meeting, if it's advertised as virtual or a hybrid, we kind of have to know what the board is going to do, because if the board is all going to be in person, then really it's an in-person meeting with a hybrid, sort of a virtual component, but the quorum of the members will be in person. The only functional difference is we got to unlock town hall and show up in person. But other than that, our process for how we would advertise the meeting, post it online, you know, we do our agendas well in advance anyways. The budget implementer says you got to post it online, you know, a certain number of days in advance, which we already do. We have our OneDrive link, which we post the documents in. So everything else is the same.
I'm not opposed to the hybrid format, because I believe that will, you know, be more inclusive to allow people to attend and speak as needed. In a situation like this, I'm on vacation, but still attending the meeting. So with our technologies, the way we have it now, with like the screen at the town hall, if you know, one of the members was not able to attend, it would still be kind of a full. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just kind of faded away at the end of that, Patrick.
Wow.
So what I said is I'm not opposed to the hybrid method, and situations where, you know, people are uncomfortable, like going to a regular meeting, you know, it could still be inclusive of those folks. And in a situation where, you know, we have limited staff, right? We would have 3 commission members. Like me, I'm on vacation, but yeah, I'm still attending the meeting. So with the technologies that we have the screen now at the town hall. So I think that's probably our best bet. So am I reading that all correctly, Michael?
Yeah, I think that we have seen actually our numbers of the engagement for virtual meetings have been probably across the board a little bit higher than what we're seeing in person, because people can join from wherever they are, and they can come in for what they want and they can leave. So you know, I think that the engagement has been stronger, and we do have the technology in the town hall, in the main meeting room. We don't yet have it downstairs, but we're working on it. So for these meetings, we'd have to just make sure that we didn't have any overlap for folks that were meeting upstairs at the same time. But, you know, we've also seen a couple of boards sort of say, we're going to stick hybrid through the summer or virtual only through the summer. And then we're going to kind of play it by ear based on what we have. Because if we have a light agenda like tonight, we don't need to all go down to town hall and unlock the building and turn the lights on, but we can be very flexible.
So can we choose, like, when would be a deadline for choosing how we would hold the August meeting?
I mean, I think that by the statute, we would have to know, I think it's, oh gosh, 2 days prior, we have to notice if it's going to be that type of a meeting. But, we generally set our agendas the week ahead of time. So if our August meeting is set for the 23rd,
Yeah.
we would want to make a decision by, early the week before, 16th, 17th, if the format.
Right. Any thoughts, Mark?
I just think that this is working out pretty well. It's you don't need as much time. There's certainly less time wasted by traveling and everything else. I just think that if we can continue on in this fashion or a hybrid, I think that's a positive.
Right. I concur with that. I think I heard Patrick pretty much agreeing with that as well.
And how are you, Michael? How does it work for you?
Well, as someone who doesn't live in Willington, attending these meetings is much, much easier because I don't have, although on Mondays I know the town hall is open, but based on the way that I've been in the office, particularly now with Ashley being gone, it's much easier for me to be able to have everything at my desk and I'm home and available. But certainly want to make sure that we're supporting what you guys are most comfortable with. And so we can, if what I'm hearing is we're all comfortable with proceeding forward, my suggestion would be, if we don't have anything that's incredibly complex, maybe we start with virtual, but if we have an application that we need to look at some maps, or we're expecting a significant amount of public engagement or public hearing, or, things along those lines, then I would say we would go to the in-person or hybrid meeting. But a lot of the feedback that we've received from a lot of different boards is that, I work and I run home and I eat dinner and I don't have time to necessarily get back in the car and go to town hall and read my notes and do this and do that. So they can, they hang up from the meeting and they're already at home. And particularly as the weather gets colder and snowier and gets darker, a lot of people are more comfortable with that, which is great.
That sounds like a rousing endorsement of some sort of virtual format.
Yeah, I like having the virtual format, at least some component, and in looking at, so I'm sure you all know, we post these to YouTube after everything's been done. And we have some boards that have had, a couple of hundred views of these meetings because people are, rather than trying to get down to town hall, they're watching them after they're done. And the one downside to the way that the system is set up in the main room upstairs is that the TV screen is mounted to the camera. So it's got to be close enough for everybody to see who's virtual, but it's got to be far enough so that the camera can see everybody. And so there's this sort of, you really wish the camera could be farther, but the TV could be closer. So at least when we're all virtual, you're able to see everybody really, really well. And the audio is a little bit better. But we have had a number of people that have said, watching this, I have a question about that, or they followed up, they're looking through on YouTube. You can scrub through the captions. You can search the captions for specific terms or words. So people can look at a 3-hour meeting. They can search for the document or the item that was discussed. They can go right to it. They can review it. So we found a lot of people have found that to be helpful if they're at soccer practice or choir or church or this or that, double booked.
Right. I would like one of you guys over there, if you don't have anything else to say, to make a motion towards we hold virtual meetings in general.
So we want to make a motion to have just virtual meetings or do this like hybrid type?
I don't think there's any problem with doing them virtual unless we have to do hybrid.
Right.
So I would say we do virtual and have our
Hybrid option.
hybrid option, which, as Mike pointed out, as long as it's a week before the meeting, we can make it work.
Make a motion to have meetings going forth, a hybrid, a virtual format, with the option of doing a hybrid, public and virtual option.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, done.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, it does look like we have overlap, depending on the month, with at least one other board, the Parks and Rec Committee. So, we would, if you wanted to have the in-person or hybrid, I would just coordinate to make sure that they didn't also want it. So that'll give me some flexibility if they want to use that room. Okay, loves. So the town has gone through the bid process for the clerk of the works that went to Board of Selectmen, and it went to Planning and Zoning because based on the attorney's review of the town's procurement policy, he felt that it needed to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission which authorized the approval rather than the Board of Selectmen, because there's actually no cost to the town. So the Board of Selectmen is not the agency that actually is going to contract to have that done. They did field staking of the review areas as required by the permit, which was verified by the engineer. They issued me a written report that they went out and they visually inspected the entire staking line. And basically now what we need from them is the bonds that are required for the approval, which is in the neighborhood of $350,000. And once we have that, we can start looking at them getting started. They are going to be setting probably a construction trailer and temporary electrical up coming soon. And they're looking at a tentative completion of April. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions or anything they are wondering about.
This, so when they staked all that out, did that get surveyed and we can kind of see almost an as-built compared to their proposed footprint to what's actually there now in relation to the delineated wetlands and resource areas?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up what I have. I don't know if I have it in my email from them. And
I guess that brings me to another question. Can we get I know it's not part of the permit, but after everything's all done, an as-built, what was the total footprint of the final construction compared to their proposed and impact to or close to resource areas?
so, oops.
No, the clerk of the works is supposed to be assuring us that that's being done correctly. Is that not so?
Right, so I misspoke. They didn't get to the point of staking the ones. They were staking the clearing limits. So just for the clearing of the site and prep, it was not, they're not at that point. I mean, really, they're not getting right down to the wetlands with a lot of that stuff there. So they went out and did the clearing limitation so that they can start moving dirt. But they can't do any of the cutting and clearing until we have the erosion and sedimentation control bonds, which is what we're waiting on. So sorry about that, misspoke. But yes, to answer Dave's question, the purpose of the clerk of the works is for them to go through and independently verify all of those major milestones so that they, number one, can be those eyes in lieu of town staff. But number two, the reason why we contracted them through planning and zoning is that they will have the authority to stop the job on behalf of the town if they see that there's any issues on site where they're not following their sequencing, they've moved into an area they're not supposed to. If there's anything that's going on there, we are giving them the authority to stop all work for any reason. And the contract gives them the flexibility to decide if they need to be out there all day for a month, they can be. Or if they think they can go out every 3 days because of the portion of the project that they're in, there's that flexibility so that they really can spend the time that they need to independently verify.
Thank you. That was very clear and concise. Is there any other question about Loves? So now I guess we move on to our next agenda items that we just added. Kathy, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Dave. Kathy Demers from the Conservation Commission. Here today to ask the Inland Wetlands Commission if you would provide a letter of support for a grant application that the Conservation Commission is going to be writing on behalf of the town to acquire a 16-acre parcel that's has frontage on Mason Road. And we did send out a letter to the commission as well as some maps that kind of overview some of the natural resources and why we think this is an important piece of property to acquire and add on as open space. Quite a few of the attributes of the property relate to surface and groundwater quality strategies. So if you have your handouts, I can briefly just kind of highlight some things on them. The first would be the map that shows the adjacent open space parcels for the town. It's titled Proposed Talmadge Property Purchase. Maybe, I don't know, Mike, if you want to bring that up in case somebody doesn't have, do you all have your maps?
And yes, Mike, can you share this information on the screen so we can all see it? And then Kathy.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I just had the email and I totally lost it. Give me 1 second.
No, take your time. I can kind of talk a little bit around that. I don't know how familiar you are with some of the other open space on Mason Road. There's the Knowlton Preserve, which is 138 acres, and the town also owns a piece called the Talmadge Tract, which is 28 acres. The piece that we're going to be acquiring is going to be an add-on to the original Talmadge parcel. They did sell the house and a small lot on Route 44, and this was what was left over after they did that, after Mr. Talmadge passed away. And the family did approach the town asking if we wanted to purchase it to keep it as open space. It has some wetlands on the property and also a small tributary stream to the Fenton River. You can see on when you see the adjacent parcel map, you can see that it's going to become part of a larger core block of forest that includes also the 420 acre Yukon Moss property. So in total, we'll be preserving 602 acres of forested undeveloped property, which is a real nice forest block in town. You can also see on that map that Mike is showing the proximity of the parcel to the Fenton River. It's probably within 2,000 feet. And in some of the other maps, I'll show you quickly that there is a small tributary that does drain on the southern border, and it drains down to the Fenton As you know, the Fenton River is part of our drinking water watershed. The water drains down to the Willimantic Reservoir, and it provides drinking water to residents in Willimantic as well as parts of Mansfield. And also, if you go to the next map with the aquifer protection area.
Before you move off that map, I'd like to point out that the piece that she is talking about is the orange one.
Thank you. I've looked at this so many times, Dave. It's like, you know, I assume everybody knows the map. Thank you. So you can see it's a relatively small parcel. It's 16 acres compared to the rest, but it's going to lock up 1,500 feet of frontage on Mason Road, that last stretch where there's no utility lines, and we've got some beautiful stone walls, and it's adjacent to the Knowlton property where the hiking trails start. In this next map, you can see the aquifer protection area. About over 75% of this parcel kind of overlays that area. So by keeping it undeveloped, it also helps to protect the groundwater there. And then the next map, if you can, Mike, would be the wetland soils. That aquifer,
Okay.
by the way, does contribute to the well fields for Yukon. And then this next wetland soils map, we did not actually have all the wetlands mapped. The map here shows the stream and at the southern border of the parcel, and pretty much the wetlands kind of follow that course. We did explore some area that was a little more central to the property. It's below, it's kind of nestled between two large hills, and there's some standing water in there. There was standing water last fall, and there's standing water again in July before that heavy rainstorm. And actually Ken Metzler was gracious enough to come and walk the property with us to kind of just give us a sense of the habitat and natural communities. And he felt that the small impoundment that we found could possibly be used by amphibians, you know, vernal pool. So unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to get out in the spring to check it. So
I would like to say one more thing here, and that is that I had the privilege of accompanying Kenny and a couple of conservation commissioners on this walk. One of them was my wife.
okay, thanks, Dave. We're glad you were accompanying us. You're the eyes of the commission. And then the last map, Mike, if you can, that's the one that just kind of shows the stream course going to the Fenton. It doesn't have a title on it.
Can you see that there if I turn off the aquifer? I'm having trouble loading the PDF. I don't know why.
Okay.
Let me turn off the inland wetlands. Does that help? You should see the stream there at the bottom. Hold on one sec.
The map that's showing, okay, yep. Yep, you can see it now. So you can see it really borders the southern portion of the property, kind of goes in and out. There's a stone wall that borders the southern edge of that parcel, and the water kind of courses in and out of the old stone wall and then back onto the property and more of the western part, and then exits onto a private parcel before it hits Yukon property again, the moss forest, and then into the Fenton River. You can also, in this ortho photo, you can kind of see where the drainage is. It kind of goes up in the middle of the property. Maybe Mike can kind of show that with his cursor, kind of the darker black line that comes down centrally. It's not an actual water course that we found unless it's intermittent and high flows, but the potential vernal pool is where you see that more dark spot up at the very top of that, what would look like a drainage.
Yeah, the water in that area was about, I'd say 18 inches deep at the deepest part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the spot.
Thanks, Mike. And then just to the west of that, where you see more of the conifers in the middle there, that is kind of an elevated peak with some bedrock showing, kind of a nice, you have a little bit of a view off of it to the west, and then down into kind of the little hollow between where that water, drainage seems to be. It's a really nice spot, and we're hoping to put some hiking trails that kind of cross that, although that's not your purview, but those are some other attributes that we're really excited about for this parcel. So what we're hoping is that Inland Wetlands, perhaps by their next meeting or at their next meeting, might vote to provide some type of a letter of support that we could include in our grant application to DEEP. They're looking for support letters from Planning and Zoning, as well as Inland Wetlands and Conservation Commission. The town, we have good town support for this, and that we've gone before the Board of Finance, Capital Improvement Projects Committee, as well as the Board of Selectmen, their support. And this is for funding anyway from the town. This is going to town meeting on August 3rd. If you have any questions.
What's the time frame on this letter that you would like us to write?
We
Again,
have to have the grant application into DEEP by September 30.
right. So we
You're
don't.
asking for it by September 15th?
Yeah, so we'll have time to
Mhm.
be able to include it in the document that we have to send to them.
If you guys make a motion to issue the letter, I can work with the Conservation Commission on the language. I think we'll be pretty comfortable with what it's going to say. So that way there, if anything comes up in August, I can get them the letter timely.
I certainly agree with that.
Yeah,
This is a great opportunity. I mean, just based on the north-south coverage with the tracks and that original mapping. I mean, that's gonna preserve a lot of good land there. So
I do want to say that there's very little invasives on that piece of property in the heart of it. It's mostly down along the edge closest to the pond that you can see that's on private property, because that's where it's open. But the rest of it seems to be pretty clean.
that's great.
There it is. It looks like Oklahoma.
Or Idaho.
Yeah, Idaho.
Yeah, we feel that, really the parcel will help to add some more
Yeah, you see that?
protection.
That so much there to that tract.
It's interesting, Mike, when you're bringing up the protected open space on the Main Street maps, the Knowlton parcel doesn't show up as protected, but it should.
What,
Yeah, it's across the road.
Yep,
when was it acquired?
2010, I believe.
So this data, this data is projected via the assessor's information. So I don't know where the data was created, because it's like 3 months older in Willington than I am. But if there's adjustments to the map that need to be made, let me know. Well, absolutely. Or when this parcel gets acquired, we can adjust the map for both.
Okay, that'd
Right.
be great. Is there a way to adjust the map prior to that? The only reason I'm asking is, for the open space grant application, if we try to use the GIS, the town's GIS, we just can't get that parcel to show up as a protected open space yet.
So which, it's this side of the street? It's
It's
the,
that-
Yes.
Yep.
Lot 19, I think it shows. That's it.
Right.
gotcha.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
It
okay.
has a conservation easement on it. It's owned by the town.
Yeah, style vacant land, use code 903V. There's a different land use code. I wonder if that's why this is 901, that was 903. Yeah, well, it'll fall out of my head as soon as we end the meeting, but if you follow up with me, I'll see if we can get it tweaked.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's going to be a larger block than is actually at Fenton Ruby and Drobny Sanctuary. So that total protected area.
And it does flow across the Fenton River and go on up into the, it goes all the way up to Eldridge Road, almost.
Right. Right. Well, the Eldridge Brook drains into the Fenton River. Eldridge Brook is on the northern part of that Yukon moss forest there, and it comes across Daleville Road and then down into the Fenton. That brownish parcel that is to the east of the green moss forest, that actually belongs to Yukon. It was what we used to call the North property. I don't know if some of you remember, Daniel North gifted that property to the library, and it was sold to Connecticut Forests and Parks to raise money for the library. Connecticut Forests and Park put a conservation easement on it, and then they brokered a deal with Yukon. They gave it to Yukon in exchange for conservation easement on the moss parcel, the Yukon moss forest, for 50 years. And there's also the Blue Blaze Trail from Connecticut Forest and Park, the Nipmuc Trail that comes through the north parcel, and then it heads south through the Yukon moss forest, close to the Fenton River. And they put a conservation easement, a permanent conservation easement on that trail. So that was the deal that Connecticut Forests and Parks. So that brown parcel actually belongs to Yukon now as well. Nice block of forest. If you haven't been out there hiking, we have some really nice trails out there.
Yes, it's absolutely gorgeous. I walked part of the Knowlton property with Mark when he was
While ago.
quite a while ago.
So that one shows it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that one, it's on there now.
Okay.
That's the right parcel.
Did you get that to do it, or
No, that's the open space layer,
Yeah.
which is, so you have state, municipal, and private. The one that we were toggling on and off is a protected open space, but the information comes from deep on that one.
Mhm.
It's a 2011 layer.
Okay.
But the one that's higher up is the town open space,
Excellent. Okay.
which should show a little bit more.
Yeah. See the one that's it shows easements as well then, because there's a parcel to the west of the lower part of the Yukon property that's in green, like it's town open space. It's along, yeah, the light green.
This one?
That's no, light green to the west of the dark green.
Southwest.
Southwest.
Oh,
thank you.
this?
It borders on Middle Turnpike.
It's on the Nipmuc Road. Can you see that? It comes off Middle Turnpike and Nipmuc Road. It's a light green.
Uh,
That-
There
That's
you
it.
go.
Looks like
Yeah.
Delaware.
Yeah, that must just have an easement on it because that's all private property. It's not town owned.
yeah. I'm not sure. These are, we have to look at this layer. Oh yeah, this is all town stuff. Okay, well, we can tweak it, but at least for the purposes of this, if we can't get it tweaked in time, you can show that parcel.
Okay,
But we'll see if we can get it fixed.
okay, that's great. All
If
right,
I could just jump in, I just want to show you all something, I guess, really quickly while I have this up. And I'm going to use Loves as an example. Hopefully I don't make anybody car sick. I can't remember if I, whoa, that's not good. I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, but I have been working with our GIS people to get this wetlands layer updated in the way that it's shown. And I think I showed you it before with the greens and the reds to make it look better. So the other thing that I did, because I think it's important, is all the commercial developments that we've been approving, I have had our GIS vendor actually go in and include the delineations. So when you go to a parcel like this one, for example, or for the recent subdivisions that we just did, you can actually see these dashed lines, which are the flag delineations of those parcels. Because obviously they change from what we see on the wetlands side. So I thought it was important as we start to see how these things change, that we be able to show them where those actual delineations were. So that if people look online and they see something out in the field and it's different, they can actually see, well, no, there's delineation there. Turns out there is a wetland or there isn't. You know, you can see this stuff up here. They picked something up that wasn't shown on our map. So I'm trying to get this GIS to be more reflective of what these applications are finding after we approve them.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, good, because I already paid for it.
Oh, spend my money.
No, it wasn't expensive, but I just think that we go through the process of evaluating these parcels based on these delineations, and they're on a map that nobody sees. So I felt like it was important to get them on the GIS.
Right.
Absolutely. Money well spent.
May,
All right, that's
before
all
I
I
go, can I ask one other question? Is it possible for the Inland Wetlands Commission to actually, during a meeting, just not, this is separate from the letter, the grant letter, but to vote to recommend the acquisition of this parcel because it has attributes that help to protect surface and groundwater? Just wondered if that's something that, like a simple motion that could be made at a meeting.
I think we could just include that in the letter, couldn't we?
I think so. I think you can do all that in a motion now.
The reason I was asking is because we have this town meeting coming up on August 3rd.
Yeah.
It's not critical, your support isn't critical to, you know, taking a vote to do that for that, because planning and zoning has recommended this acquisition as well as, you know, Board of Finance and so on. But I just wondered if you wanted to do that, if you could, if you'd have to wait for another meeting, or you can do that like tonight's meeting.
Make a motion to support the acquisition of the parcel.
Talmadge property, is that what it's called?
Talmadge Estate property with frontage on Mason Road.
The property as just stated, and provide a letter in support of that.
I'll second.
Is there anything else we need in that? So we'll take a second.
I gave it.
I didn't hear it.
I'm sorry. I'll second it again.
Okay, very good. You're a good man. In spite of what they say about you.
I didn't say it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We got a unanimous support of the Conservation Commission.
Thank you, guys.
What that's worth.
Ooh, or
You
something.
do a great
Wow.
job.
Well, that and another, and a couple of bucks and you can buy a cup of coffee.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kathy.
Yes.
You do excellent work.
Mhm.
Ah,
The only thing I need for you to do is approve the April minutes.
well, I actually read through them too. Something must be wrong with me.
Wow, Dave, you're going
Bored?
above
Boredom?
duty here.
I won't complain.
I had no comment on the April minutes. I looked through them briefly, but
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think that that was Ashley's last minutes.
For this group, yep.
I think she did a good job.
motion to approve the minutes from the April 2021 meeting.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It's passed.
Great.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah. In the past, when somebody left our commission, we usually gave them a little party. But she just snuck out the back door on us.
I think they had something for her at town hall, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Bigger and better.
She's she's going to be working for the town of Woodstock.
Oh, okay.
Ah. So when will our search for a replacement start, or has it already?
Yeah, it's already started.
She's really useful.
The search or the,
She was very
Oh.
good for us.
That's good.
yeah. Yeah, no, we want to, it certainly feels like it's harder and harder to fill all, any land use type job. A lot of towns are struggling, but we'll do our best and see what we can come up with.
Right. The problem is we get them all trained up and then they find a better job.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the challenge with a lot of the more rural towns is that, there are larger towns that have the same job for double the money, and it's hard to, the salaries, particularly even for this job, and we increased it when with Emily we increased the pay and we added benefits to try to make it more attractive, but it's still not really a strong living wage.
Right.
Well, do you see more and more because you're like a subcontractor, right? So you see more and more things going that route?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I consult for a number of towns and for different reasons, but yeah, a lot of towns are finding it hard to fill the position, or they don't have the demand, the volume, or the budget for a full-time in-house person. The position that I fill in Willington was Susan's position. It's a land use director, basically, right? They run planning and zoning and wetlands. They staff the commissions. They do the budget. They do the permits. They participate as a department head for all the budgeting processes. And I think that the position was funded when they were looking for Susan's replacement, $50,000. And someone who wants to be a department head that has the quals that position looks for is not going to do it for $50,000 full time, which is the challenge that, you know, there are some towns that are offering $100,000 for town planner positions and they're not finding people. So yeah, I think that the position that Ashley had is attractive to someone who's younger in their career who wants to learn. And so, you know, they have they're very eager and they want to do, you know, a lot of work and move real fast, but they don't necessarily hang out for that long because, you know, there are positions not far away that pay, you know, I think our position, that position that she had is funded around $32,000. And there are plenty of towns that'll pay $50,000, $60,000 for the same work. So it's, you know, it's hard to keep them.
Right.
Was that really a full-time position that she had?
It's full-time in that she had the number of hours and it had health benefits.
Do we have that much work?
You know, it's hard to say what will happen after COVID. You know, we've seen a lot more people go online. And so that has changed the type of work that we do in the office. But, you know, when we had Loves and when we had Dollar General and we had some of these other bigger projects, which we may have some more of, you know, it takes a little bit more. If Ashley had been here a little bit longer, I probably would have transitioned her into being the point of contact for this commission. That was the goal. We just didn't have the time. But, you know, for a while between everything with Loves and like I said, with Dollar General and some of the other stuff we had here, I mean, we were real busy.
Yeah, I didn't know if that could be a shared position with another town.
Yeah.
Susan worked at more than one town, for instance.
Yeah, I think that to do that in Willington, we would have to have an MOU with the union or renegotiate that position because it's a union position.
Okay.
But yeah, we're always willing to think out of the box for sure.
So is there anything else on the agenda that we should go over? I think that we're pretty much done.
That's all I have, guys.
Let Patrick go back to his loons.
They're out there.
Nice.
They're out there.
Yeah.
That and some Genesee cream ale. All right, motion to adjourn.
Get a
I'll
second?
that.
All in favor?
All
All
right.
right.
Done.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next month.
All
Yep.
right.
Bye-bye.
Have
Thanks,
fun,
all.
Pat.
All right, enjoy.